Welcome, everyone. Today on Human Range, My Life, My Journey, I have really two guests. We have Sharon here, who is the host for We Know You for That, but today she will host this interview with our guest, Autumn, and I will sit and just enjoy the recording. Take it away, Sharon.
Yeah, thank you very much and welcome everyone. I'm very excited to be on camera this time. Autumn, we are so excited to have you on. You are a massage therapist for over 25 years, impact and intuitive healer, and a committed health practitioner. Nervous system regulation is the foundation for your practice, in addition to providing healing and nourishment for healthy nervous system functioning. Autumn, you help to foster transformative whole health, and you provide trauma-informed care for your clients. Now, I'm so happy to talk with you today about all this today. And since this is all health-related issues, we talk every day in our mind. We have this every day on our mind today. So you are an established massage therapist. One of your sayings is that the amount of time you have spent with bodies in deep resonance deeply informs your work. Now, can you briefly introduce yourself and tell us how your path led you to where you are today?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Sharon and Lynn. I'm just really happy to be here. So thanks for the invitation. And I've got warm fuzzies. Um, so yeah, I have logged over 20,000 hours of this space of with bodies, my body with the body. And so much of that is outside of language. So it's so interesting and fun to try and talk about it with words. But that is a huge part of where I've come from. I'm a local to the Pikes Peak region. I grew up in Manitou Springs, Colorado, and now I live in the old north end of Colorado Springs with my husband and son. We're all neurodivergent, but in different ways. We're all 2E, twice exceptional. I have a home office where I see clients, and then I have some telehealth clients that I see virtually. I mean, I think thinking back, like my love for the body likely started when I was young. I grew up playing in the Colorado mountains, skiing, rock climbing, mountain biking, kayaking, climbing trees. And I also grew up going to see a chiropractor, and we had a naturopathic doctor in addition to our regular DO. I mean, academically, I really loved chemistry and algebra, biology, music. I was a little impatient with the pace and the politics of high school, and I really wanted something more. So I started massage therapy school the summer before I began my senior year in high school. And it was a little tricky from an administrative standpoint. The massage school had previously never had a high school student. And so I had to do a lot of wiggling to make that work, but I was super determined and I made it happen. I convinced the massage school to accept me based on the grounds that I would be a high school graduate before I became a graduate of the massage school. So that did work. I graduated in May 1997 from high school, and then in June from massage school. So I started out as a neuromuscular therapist, which is based on the work of Dr. Janet Travell, and it's about referred pain patterns. So it's a methodology to understand how a lot of our pain originates in another part of the body. So a good explanation of this or example would be headaches. A lot of times, like if someone has a headache in their temple, a lot of times it's upper trapezius. If they have a headache in their forehead, a lot of times it's a trigger point in the sternocleidomastoid, or carpal tunnel pain often originates in trigger points in the extensor muscles of the forearm. So I began with that, which was very prescriptive and technical, a lot of sort of memorization of how these pain patterns work. But then at the same time, I began my journey with Reiki, and I did my levels 1 and 2 Reiki in 1997, and then became a Reiki master before I was 20. So Reiki is a form of hands-on energy work. And so I had a holistic view of health in the body right from the beginning, because neuromuscular therapy and Reiki they're very different. So I started out, I think, my career with a pretty broad base.
Oh, nice. And I heard you found your passion and professional path a few years ago when you discovered the polyvagal theory and started immersing yourself into the study of the human nervous system. How do you work with your clients, and how does implementing the knowledge of nervous system regulation and nervous system health help you positively impact your patient's well-being and overall positive functioning?
Yeah, well, a few years ago, I was looking for some tools and interventions for my son, and I first discovered the integrated listening systems and their focus system. And we began a home occupational therapy program, and that included the Safe and Sound protocol. And that was the first time I'd ever heard of the polyvagal theory and Dr. Porges. And so I bought the unabridged book of the polyvagal theory, which is a really dense, rigorous academic research. And I just started studying it. And right away, I was like, oh, this answers every last question that I have about human behavior, neurodivergence, trauma, health, restoration, relationships, and all of it was answered by this single complex and thorough theory. So after I finished reading the theory, I had an opportunity to become trained as an SSP provider, and I attended the first SSP gathering in Florida. This was in 2019, and right away things shifted because it was wonderful to be able to help my clients understand more about their bodies. And being able to understand this new lens immediately helped them understand how their bodies were using these adaptive strategies, like in their best interest. And so it was kind of a way to decode maybe some stuff that they didn't understand about how things were working for them. And so we learned together. I studied and I taught them, and then I studied more and I taught them more, and it's still like this today.
Nice. Could you maybe tell us more about the Safe and Sound protocol that you established in your practice? Maybe also specific outcomes with your patients, how you apply the method and how your patients receive that outcome.
So after I finished reading the unabridged polyvagal theory, I fundamentally understood this process that we called co-regulation. And even though nobody else was using the Safe and Sound protocol with touch or massage therapy or body work, I felt comfortable enough to begin trying it with my long-term clients. At that point, it was predominantly occupational therapists, specifically more pediatric occupational therapists, and then a lot of mental health care providers. But because the training really emphasized, at the training for the Safe and Sound protocol, it really emphasized that as a provider, our job was to offer co-regulation. And when I understood that co-regulation was what I was doing with therapeutic massage therapy and touch, I was like, to me, this works. Like my best tool is my hands. And so if my job is to offer co-regulation, then I want to use my hands. So I just slowly started with my long-term clients. And so the paradigm shift really started with my clients because the music, the SSP, is a portal to the social engagement system via the ventral branch of the vagus nerve. And SSP increases this ventral vagal tone using the auditory system. So I have clients listen to SSP or the Safe and Sound protocol using headphones during their massages. So I also use Reiki, I use craniosacral therapy, specifically like listening stations, like on the belly or the head. Other places too. One of my favorite ones, it's called Dural Tube Rock and Glide. And so when they're prone, when they're face down, I'll have a hand on the sacrum and then a hand on the base of the skull, which is right where the vagus comes out. And usually the body really just settles right then. I also have a therapy dog that assists me in all of my in-person work. And so a lot of times he'll ask to get on the massage table. And so I just will say, oh, Banksy's asking if he can get on the massage table. Like, is that okay with you? So sometimes he's just laying on people too. And that really helps support their nervous systems. So the way that it works is I put them on the table, I put the headphones on them, and I'll use the Reiki, cranial sacral therapy. Sometimes I use cupping, depending on the goals for the session and depending on their pain. And what happens in polyvagal terms is I'm increasing the parasympathetic tone using massage and other hands-on techniques, while I'm also increasing their ventral vagal tone using SSP. So this blended state is similar to sleep, or in polyvagal terms, we call it safety with immobilization. And it's basically the opposite of fight or flight or PTSD. So especially in our current social climate, like being able to shift into this state is vital for our immune systems, our relationships, our mental health, our quality of life. I mean, I have clients shifting out of treatment-resistant depression, leaving toxic jobs, finding freedom from chronic pain, and learning how to use their intuition instead of being divorced from their bodies. I also have a home program for folks who aren't in Colorado Springs. It's a 30-day program using SSP, and I ship a kit to them with self-massage tools so they can begin to still be building that relationship with themselves using these self-massage tools. And so they can keep going with that. And then we meet on Zoom weekly. So it's really, so many folks, because of trauma or because of chronic pain. I mean, often chronic pain has its roots in trauma. But it's easy for us to just turn away from our body. And so it's a really big shift to learn to turn towards it and then be able to use that information to help inform decisions.
Wonderful. I actually find it fascinating. The more I was prepping for the interview, reading into the work you are doing, I was actually thinking about my own daughter, connecting her with you. Now, your family is neurodivergent, as you also mentioned. Your husband is an artist, and together you homeschool your son, Foster, an artist, engineer, maker, inventor, as you call him too. You are a passionate parent and advocating for and supporting the neurodiverse movement. What is your mission, or what are your goals for the future?
Well, we actually just finished homeschool. So Foster is now in school to become a lineman. It's a specific branch of electricians that work with high voltage live electricity, oftentimes after climbing like a 40 to 90 foot tall pole. So they climb up, they're up there, and then they work with high voltage live electricity. So he was working as a professional artist. And then a few months ago, he opted for a career change, and it really surprised me, but it shouldn't have, because he's been a self-directed learner for 10 years.
Yes.
He knows what he likes. He knows what he's interested in. He knows how to study it, and he knows how to shape his future. So we've supported him, but really he's been doing this for years. None of my family did well in traditional school environment, and I was so bored. My mom thought for sure I was going to drop out if it wasn't for band. And after learning that we're all neurodivergent in this last few years, it just started to make more sense. I really love neurodivergent folks. And honestly, I'm kind of angry that we center the neurotypical brain in the center of education and society. I love neurodiversity, and I strongly believe that society is better off with all types of folks. I suppose my mission is just to keep telling our story, to raise advocacy and awareness. And I honestly want the entire education system to become polyvagal informed. And this will make it a better place for all of our students, because if it's polyvagal formed, it will become safe. And then they'll be curious, and all learners will be able to thrive.
Absolutely. And we hope today to give a push with all that. Autumn, recently you published a book called The Body Wisdom and the Polyvagal Theory. And it's a special piece of collaboration, as it is written by you, designed by your husband, and illustrated by Foster. Without giving not too much away, what is the essence of the book, and who is it geared towards? What are your biggest hopes this little but mighty book could deliver to an interested audience?
Well, I mean, I guess the essence of the book is just an introduction to polyvagal theory and the autonomic nervous system using narrative. So Foster's illustrations and colors represent the three autonomic nervous system states of ventral, sympathetic, and dorsal. And I wrote the book, and then I read each page to Foster, and he sketched all the images. And I mean, I think polyvagal theory is a user guide to the body. And I really wanted to democratize the knowledge into something that was easily shareable. I mean, people are more open to children's books in general, so I decided to start there. So I don't really feel like it's for children, it's just for humans. I really feel strongly that every person has a right to understand how their body works, so that they can better understand the divine innate intelligence that's stored within. And I really feel like this book is for everybody with a vagus nerve, which is all mammals, but I wrote it really for humans. And I guess my hope is that instead of, turning away from their body, they can turn towards it to understand how it's working to keep them surviving, and how relationships are a neurobiological necessity. I mean, I started with my early experience of having an upset stomach for years on end. My parents were getting divorced, and it was a hard time in my life. And I mean, 35 years later, when I learned about polyvagal theory, I was like, oh, like that's that. Okay, now I understand my stomach ache. Like it was my vagus nerve all along. And the book it's really friendly and approachable. It's more of a graphic novel. I use the open dyslexia font, and I made the print very large. I was frustrated as a mom that I couldn't find books for early readers with dyslexia. So when I wrote my own book, I tried hard to make it accessible by using the large font, using open dyslexia, and really having the illustrations carry the story. The book is used in preschools, and the pre-readers really get the illustrations. They usually choose the red angry robot that represents the sympathetic state or fight or flight, which is super interesting because most adults have a kind of a hard time finding that feeling in their body, and the preschoolers totally get it. So to me, that shows that our culture really teaches us to turn away from our body's wisdom.
Absolutely. I think if the camera is this visible.
It's
No.
kind of picking up and then not. There you go.
That's the book. It's actually fantastic. I had a hard time when I studied the polyvagal theory, like in a book, in a scientific way, but hard to understand. But reading your book, I was like, oh yeah, this it is.
That was kind of my hope. It's like everyone can just learn a little bit. That's way more helpful than a few people knowing everything.
Absolutely, and these the illustrations are just hilarious. So kudos to Foster. You mentioned the term co-regulation, and you explore that topic also in your book. Could you explain what co-regulation means, or being regulated, or as you say, or in a green zone, as you say in the book, a green zone of safety, learning, social engagement, or restoration? What that means?
Yeah. So co-regulation is like lending your regulated nervous system to the dysregulated nervous system of another. So when a mother picks up a crying baby, she's co-regulated. I mean, another way to think of it is like offering cues of safety to others. So this is like smiling to a stranger or being curious and calm during conflict. The green state is the ventral vagal state or safety. So our vagus is the largest cranial nerve, and it innervates nearly every vital organ in our body. So vagus means wanderer, and 80% of our vagus is sensory, meaning that it is picking up information from the environment and then bringing that up to the brain, and then the brain is bringing information back to the body. So the vagus is bidirectional. So information goes from the body to the brain and then back to the body. So our bodies are literally asking all the time, am I safe or not? So co-regulation is using your body to help another body find safety.
Interesting. Yeah. Now, how would you describe yourself in one word? What is your message for people who are passionate about learning more about the functioning and impact of the nervous system on our health and well-being? And how can individuals or educators or other organizations that are interested collaborate with you to help support the work you are doing?
Well, I guess if I had to pick one word, it'd be curious. I will study until I die. It's so much fun for me. I love in-person trainings and audiobooks and podcasts and fiction and documentaries and movies and conversations, all of it. So I have a robust resource page on my website and a Vimeo channel with free videos with flows to increase vagal tone, like different kinds of regulation tools. And these build nervous system flexibility, and they improve overall health and well-being and increase immunity. So I'm thinking about starting like a weekly or bi-weekly newsletter with bits of psychoeducation and a place to share new resources. And I think if folks want to learn more, like, go for it. Our library system is one of our greatest resources. Podcasts are a great way to learn more. I listen to them while I'm doing boring household chores because I'm easily bored. So I sort of need something kind of intellectually stimulating if I'm doing something, I don't know, that's boring to me. So I really love collaborating. And to me, polyvagal theory intertwines with like just about everything. So I'd be super glad to meet up with folks that are looking to share information. I mean, we all have bodies. I'm such a body-centered person. So we all have bodies. And unfortunately, most people have like a few problems with their own body. And so what I'm super curious right now is about chronic pain and how our biggest influence is that, how it's really seems to always be linked to a trauma history. And so that's kind of what I'm eyeball deep in at the moment. But I do have a contact page on my website for folks that want to get in touch and collaborate. So it's pretty easy to get in touch with me.
Fantastic. I have a quote here. You say, our ticket back to feeling safe, happy, and curious is always inside a hug, a smile, or the hand of a loved one. Now, most of the thing I think you answered already, but if you want to add anything to this, how do you see yourself evolving and moving forward with your specific ideas, wellness-based practices? And I saw you have also opportunities for workshop as well as training for individuals and families in place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Like, this is such a big transition time with my family with foster mid-launch. I'm really just focusing on trying to like be in it and process it going from being a full-time homeschool mom to him likely leaving soon in a couple of months is like a really giant shift for me. So plus all the stuff that happened with schools not working out was really hard. And now that everything is okay, like all that old stuff kind of comes up. So I'm kind of still processing all that and trying to just sit with it. But I will definitely continue to do my current work, and I don't know where it'll take me. I mean, I would love to help in a wider way, but I'm not sure what it'll look like. I was just in Florida. I just got back yesterday or 2 days ago. I was there for the Safe and Sound Protocol Summit and the Polyvagal Institute Conference. It was international. There's 16 countries. It was so great. And I had a couple of really great conversations with some MDs there. And I would love to collaborate with these folks by teaching more body-based tools for patients and clients. Things like prescriptive dance breaks. So like Taylor Swift Shake It Off, or watching America's Funniest Home Videos or funny cat videos several times a day. Because this stuff totally works. Like if you don't laugh for the first several minutes, at some point, you just start to laugh. And if you do this every day, what you're doing is creating flexibility in your nervous system. And a more flexible nervous system means greater health, because the goal isn't to be like green or regulated or in this ventral vagal state all the time. The goal is to not get stuck in a threat response for hours or days or weeks at a time. And when we use these body-based practices, this can help resolve the trauma response of being stuck in a threat response. So COVID does this too. I mean, there are studies that show that long haul COVID patients have low vagal tone. And so many of these tools and practices that I mentioned can really help these folks in recovery from long haul COVID. So I would like to teach more people about like using emotional freedom technique, like tapping, and use the tapping as a daily meditation, like more of a body-based meditation than a cognitive meditation. And teaching like couples to go for a walk outside when they're having an argument, understanding that moving and being in nature will help the nervous systems find just enough safety to stay on the more productive and healthy side of conflict resolution. So, I mean, these body-based tools are like the future of transformative whole health. And I mean, I want to tell the whole world. So I don't know, like I totally want to be on Oprah Super Soul Sunday. I want to work with Michelle Obama, Brene Brown. I don't know. So those are my goals. I suppose that's enough, big enough goals for the future.
Yeah, I find it fascinating. I have never heard of body-based meditation. So this is something really great to follow up on. Now, unfortunately, we are almost at the end. So where can people find more about your wellness techniques, Autum, and connect with you? Can you maybe share your website, Facebook, Instagram, or other ways people can reach out to you?
Yeah, so I do have some social media accounts, Facebook and Instagram, both Autum Romano. So I don't have an N on my first name. So AUTUM ROMANO. I don't share a ton on there right now, but I might start sharing more soon because I really do want to just get more involved with sharing. But if folks do look on my Facebook page, which is open, during the first immediate part of lockdown of COVID. So May through June 2020, I did Facebook Live every day, teaching people regulation techniques. So I've got, I don't know, dozens on there on Facebook. And then on my website, autumromano.com, on my resource page, I really try and provide a broad lexicon for people. So I've got like links to PubMed articles, or, more felt sense type of things. Or I also have, a link to my videos from I have a Vimeo channel where, I make some of these flows, or I also just talk a little bit about polyvagal theory and SSP. So yeah, I think that, my website is kind of my main hub. So autumromano.com.
Wonderful, great.
The just so people can see, Autumn's name, all of our names are listed there. So it doesn't have an N at the back. And sorry, I mess it up all the time too, but so it's great that it's over. I'm great you have it over there so people our viewers can look and go, search you up more easily on there.
Yeah, there's an N in Romano, just not in Autumn.
Great. Well, to close, it was fascinating talking with you, Autumn, and achieving insight into this important and unique work you're accomplishing every day with your wellness practice and community, and this around the globe. I can see so much more for you to come, helping to reduce the stress and anxiety we witness today everywhere in our society, actually. And I think you are an impact-making human that brings positive change and hope for a greater health and better future into people's lives. The quote capacity, you say, the capacity to acknowledge our bodily feelings and to respect our need to connect are the critical resources that enable us to shift from negative feelings to safety, trust, and love. And I think that this is a vital message to share and to develop with everyone. You are making a difference in the world by helping people to be safe, not inside, but also outside, not only outside, but inside, literally in their skins. So thank you again for your many accomplishments throughout the wonderful methods successfully applied throughout the years. And we especially appreciate your time and sharing your experience, knowledge, and insight here with us at QUARK Collaboration. So again, you can find more about Autum Romano and her unique work by visiting Autum Romano's website at autumromano, no dots, like .com, autumromano.com. Also check out the resource page. And please look also into Autumn's Instagram and Facebook page for more current opportunities, resources, and ongoing services, and all for a journey to foster better health, positive feelings, and a happier and safer you. So again, we will also share this video on our website with all the links we mentioned accompanied on the blog with this podcast on our website, which is quarkcollaboration.com. That's again one word, quarkcollaboration.org. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I mean, we get to share our nervous systems together.
That was amazing. Yeah,
we were all co-regulating. So thank you, Lynn and Sharon, for your support and your nervous system.
Well, thank you both so much. It made my job really easy. All I did was hit the record button and just say a few words, and then I just sat and enjoyed the conversation. It's really interesting. Autumn, I noticed you use a lot of hand gestures and things like that, and that's it's been very interesting for me too. And I love that your one word is one of my favorite words, curiosity. So I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's your book.
That's also one of my favorite words currently. So we have a lot of connections here. Thank you for being on our show. And I have a lot of ideas for you, so I will reach out to you.
Okay. Yes. Please do. Please.